I started out, as a young kid, I used to, I always use an example. I used to love to build models, and we had a train set, and I love to build these things. But the problem is I used to love taking them apart. And there were some times when, I would take them apart and I couldn't put them back together. And so I always call my dad. My dad would be there to help. And so I use that as an illustration of my life because my life was the same way. I would end up tearing things apart, and I'd have to call my dad, my father, to help me put things back together. And then, of course, I got married at an early age. I got married at 19. I went to work. I started drinking at 15. And I think that drinking got really heavy in my teenage years. And I wanted to pull my life back together. So I would end up, getting married. I had two children. I went to work and I poured my life into work. And, I ended up committing crimes that it would cost me a very long prison term. It would cost me, they gave me 12 years, 4 months at 85%, of which I would do 10 and a half years. And I started getting involved with correspondence studies through MAS. And I was just devouring the studies that they had available, and there was no more. I did them all. And so I started praying and asking God. I said, Lord, I just need something that's going to help me grow because I felt I wasn't really growing. And it was at Jamestown prison that, I got involved with the chapel. And he says, hey, Ralph, I know that you're out there on the yard all the time doing, praying and, and engaging with the men on the yard and preaching. He says, I got something I want you to see. And he gave me the two CD cases. One was the Book of Acts, and the other one was the End Times by Pastor David Sell. But he let me use them, borrow them. And I listened to them, and as soon as I listened to them, I says, oh my God, this is what I've been praying for. And he says, you know what, let me make a suggestion. And I says, sure. He says, why don't you write to the college on there and see if they'll send you more CDs. And so I wrote Pastor David Sell, and Pastor David, to my surprise, actually wrote back. And with his letter came more materials and, of course, an offer for a free full scholarship. And so the Catholic priest told me, if they come in, let me know when they're there and aren't. I will personally go get them for you. Less than 2 years, I got the materials kind of that way. And then they transferred me to fire camp. And as soon as I went to fire camp, I talked to the camp lieutenant, the camp commander. And I said, look, I'm enrolled in this Bible college. I get materials here. And the camp commander looked at me and he says, you know what? I have no problem with that. I'm a Christian too. And from that point on, the CDs kept coming in. Now, we'll fast forward 6 years. I ended up paroling from fire camp. And it's so amazing how God works because, while I was in fire camp, I was taking all the NCBC courses I could take. And at the same time, I was working at the water treatment plant there at the camp. So I was going to Sacramento State University as well through NCBC and actually get the quality teaching that you provide because there's nothing else like it. And so I contacted Pastor David Sell when I got out. And then I contacted him again recently, about 2 years ago. And I said, I'd like to work on my associate degree. And he says, you're only a couple classes away from your bachelor's degree. I said, I'm going to go for it. I couldn't believe it. The tears just started rolling down my eyes. I said, I'm actually going to graduate with a bachelor's degree. I was just hoping for an associate's degree. It paid off, because I really invested my time in trying to learn and grow and mature and develop. And it finally paid off. I see what he's done. But I can't emphasize how important the education I received through NCBC has been so paramount in the transformation that's taken place in my life. I mean, it's been, I just can't even describe it. It's been so huge. It's made such an impact, and I don't know what God has planned next. I'm just putting one foot in front of the other.